Kidding. But I'm very happy to be among all these great speakers. We will hear of some good examples how young disabled people and, can access some very interesting internships in different fields. It could be, in the arts, it could be in the, city government and other fields, and how, this transforms their lives. Since we have one speaker less, we have a bit more time. That's always good. We all talk a lot. And that's the idea. We want you also to talk with us afterwards. There will be time for Q&A. And we don't be shy. Feel free to prepare questions and to interact with us. Maybe you want to share a good experience from your side. We are also happy to hear that. So that's the idea. I think I will stop annoying you with my voice. I know it's not the most fun voice to listen. We have better voices next to me. So I will start already, if that's okay, with Betty Siegel from Washington, D.C. So a long trip. We take the plane to Washington, D.C. Yeah. So thank you for coming to us. You have a very interesting project with arts, with performance, and you give opportunity to young disabled people to perform and to join and paid internships, right? Which is very rare. I mean, in many countries, arts is a difficult field for disabled people. In Greece, I am coming from Greece. Until recently, there was a law that you could not study in the National Theatre School, I think. There was a discrimination. Now it's not anymore, but I think. So I mean, we need accessing arts for disabled people. It's very often difficult, especially mainstream arts experience is not like only for disabled people. But I think this is what we will hear from you today.
Yeah.
So I give you the floor.
Well,
welcome, and yeah, thank you for joining us.
Sure, thank you. So I have to start by saying that...
Can you close my mic?
Oh.
I think I will bother you with my mic.
So, hi, my name's Betty. I'm the director of the Office of Access and VSA at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. I have a favor to ask you. I live with my 98-year-old mother. And every time I go out to do a presentation, she always asks me, what are you going to talk about? I'm like, Mom, I have one topic. I talk about accessibility. That's it. And she always asks, and so I think she doesn't know what I do. So I take pictures. So everybody smile and say hi to my mom. You're beautiful. Yay! Okay. Yeah, she doesn't know what I do for a living. That's okay. She does know to ask me for tickets to go see shows. So I'm going to talk today about our Creative Integrated Employment project and creative careers. So we used to say the arts, but what I realized is when I go out and talk to people about the arts and jobs in the arts, that your mind suddenly shut down. And you think the arts, I say, how many careers can you name in the arts? And you say, actor, dancer, musician, yeah? Painting? That's 4. I have a list of over 200 careers in the arts. And so when I talk about creative careers, I want you to think much broader than just the people that you see on stage. I want you to think about creative careers as an iceberg. Okay? And you see the tip of the iceberg above, that's all of those things you all just named. But below the water, there's this incredible amount of jobs and employment opportunities for people with disabilities to achieve. And those are the types of careers that we're really trying to support. So our mission at the Office of Accessibility and VSA is to create a world where people with disabilities of all ages learn through, participate in, and engage with arts and culture. We convene really dynamic organizations to explore promising accessibility practices and performances in exhibits and events and spaces and venues for guests and audiences and artists and staff with disabilities of all ages across all communities. And we catalyze really powerful and impactful, accessible, community classroom-based arts and learning and cultural experience for people with disabilities of all ages across all communities. And we create opportunities for competitive integrated arts-based or creative careers and employment for youth and young adults with disabilities from all communities. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. We have a number of different models that we do at the Kennedy Center that support the education and learning and the competitive skills that you need to be successful as a person going into the field of the cultural arts, okay? It's important. We have to start from a young age and bring people structurally up to the point where they can excel in these careers. And one of the ways I think that is really important, as you mentioned, is to provide people with the opportunities to gain those creative skills. And the thing that I know works are internships and apprenticeships. Okay, so we have a number of different internships and apprenticeships, some of which I've named here, and we have what we call intensives. So the intensives are really for for those people that are at the tip of that iceberg, the performers, the writers, the musicians, right? And we bring them in for intensive experiences, but I don't teach them how to do their art. If they get into our program, they know how to do their art. But you know what schools don't teach them? They don't teach them how to do the business of the arts. You cannot be an artist and not understand what a contract is, how to market yourself. What are the copyright issues that are out there about your art? So we do that through the intensives. And then through our internships and apprenticeship programs, we have longer extended periods of time where they're with us for a semester or even 2 or 3 semesters. And yes, all of these experiences are paid. We have a couple of things that we focus on in our programs that I think are success factors. I think you have to have these things to have successful internships and apprenticeship programs. And so if you're doing this work, I want you to think about these, and then I want you later to tell me all the things I forgot and that I should add to this list. Okay, so 1, we focus on participants who are themselves focused on creative careers. This is not about avocational art. This is about vocational arts. So I want people who are already determined to pursue this pathway. So we want people who have demonstrated their interest and their skills in this field. The second thing that makes us successful is collaboration. It is a collaborative project in which we build on our relationships with educational organizations, with vocational rehabilitation organizations, with other social service organizations, really importantly with disability organizations across our community, and then with other arts organizations. The third thing that we think is really a big factor to success in our programs is that we intentionally create peer-to-peer relationships. When we bring in these young artists, for example, in these intensives, it's about them helping each other as much as it is about us helping them. And then we bring in mentors, because that's a long-term relationship, and we bring in other working professionals with disabilities who have succeeded in their careers. Now, I just want to really quickly tell you 3 quick stories of people who've come out of our programs, because I have 1 minute and 45 seconds.
Now you have 3 minutes and 45.
I have 3 minutes and 45?
Yeah, because we have less speakers.
Because he added.
I can slow down. Good, because the stories are really what matters.
And we love stories.
Okay, stories. So this is J.P. Elaramendi. His family was originally from Ecuador. They migrated up to the United States. And J.P., if you can't tell from this picture, is a natural performer. He loves theater. He loves to be on stage. And he really wants to be an actor. But when he graduated from high school, his social service supports put him in a grocery store as a bag boy. That's the person who stands at the end of the conveyor belt and takes your groceries and puts it in a bag. That was all they could think he could aspire to. And so when he came to us as an intern in our career, we said, so JP, tell us what it means to be a professional in the theater. And he gave us the most beautiful explanation of how important the arts are to everybody and how he can be an ambassador to other people to engage with the arts. And so we put him in our Theater for Young Audience program, where he works as a stage management assistant, right? So he's the one that greets the artists when they get to the theater and helps them find their rehearsal room. He's the one that sits in the rehearsal, what they call on book. So as the actors are talking, you have somebody on book who's following along, and when the actors forget their lines, JP tells them what their line is. So he's really engaged in the making of the theater, and it's something he loves because he's an actor himself. He graduated from our internship program, and he was employed then part-time, and I'm going to tell you why the part-time, as an usher. And our ushers at the Kennedy Center are paid. All right? He chose not to become a full-time usher because he did not want to give up his acting career. So choice. Tori is a college student, and this is a picture of her. She's the woman on the left. Sorry, I'm left and right impaired. And she has wanted to work in the theater all of her life, and she was in college when she came to us as an intern, and we placed her as a production stage manager. So you can see, these are careers that are behind the scenes. And she now graduated from our program, and she took a job as the production stage manager at a company called Family in Denver. And she came back to the Kennedy Center as an assistant stage manager and is still working today at the Kennedy Center. So not only do we provide these opportunities to get into the field, but we also think that it's important that we also employ people. Lastly, this is Shannon DeVito. Shannon came to us, actually, initially she wanted to be a singer when she was in her late teens. And later, a few years later, we placed her in an internship program at another organization, because we not only placed interns at the Kennedy Center, we placed them at organizations across the United States. We placed her as an arts administrator, so she learned how to do budgets, she learned how to answer the phone, she learned how to negotiate contracts. And then she left that job, and she is now a filmmaker and an actress and a stand-up comedian. So every one of our interns learns about themselves through the internship and apprenticeship program. Now, are all of them as successful as this? No, because success in an internship and apprenticeship program is not only about learning what you want to do and like to do and how to do that, it is learning about what you don't want to do. Like, I thought I wanted to work in the theater, but I don't. And that is success. Taking the skills you learn and applying them in different environments, that is success. So I just wanted to show those three examples to you of folks who have come through our programs. I want to leave you with my contact information because I love talking about this stuff, and I don't want to take time from the rest of the panel here.
Do you mind clicking my mic again? Thank you. Thank you so much, Betty. Thank you for this very lively and really inspiring in a good way, not in the bad way we hear in the disability movement sometimes about inspiration. In a good way, initiative you have. I really loved what you said, that, you consider them artists if they come to you, you consider them artists. You don't patronize them. You don't accept them like, oh, let me tell you what to do. They know what to do. You tell them how to do it and how should you support them, to shine, and that's great. And as you said, not everything is successful. We have volunteers coming to our organization. Some of them take the opportunity in my organization and they shine and they continue a great career. Some of them are not fit for that. They come back and they do something else. Both of the options are good. They will give them the opportunity. This is the important, to be given the opportunity. And if you take it, that's up to you. And this is what you do, so thank you very much. Now, we stay in the USA, not far. We don't even change the site. We stay on the East Coast.
Yep.
So I think we don't even have to take plane. We take a train, and we go to New York. In New York, we will meet Millson and Michele Shapiro from the, AHRC New York City and the New York City Department of Social Services, Office of Disability Affairs. They have a very nice initiative working with this New York City, with the state, for people with intellectual impairments and developmental disabilities. And still, I mean, imagine New York, you know, it's a very competitive city, and everyone wants to have a career and to do stuff in New York, and they help disabled people to do it. And yeah, I mean, I stopped talking. I will give you, you will say much better than me. Thank you for coming, and please take the floor. Remember, you have also 10 minutes.
Okay, we'll try to do it quick. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. My name is Michele Shapiro, and we are thrilled to be here today to talk about this amazing program, to share with you a little bit about AHRC. And I am a middle-aged woman wearing a blue dress and a white jacket. And I want to share with you that AHRC just celebrated our 75 years. And as we know, change is really difficult, and it's not easy. And it took a trailblazer, Anne Greenberg, who had a son and said she wasn't going to put her son in an institution. Instead, she put an ad in the local newspaper and said, are there any caregivers who would like to form a nursery group? And what she got 75 years ago was an amazing response. And AHRC New York City's family was born. Well, since that time, we've continued to grow and support over 15,000 individuals throughout New York City in all areas of their lives, right? So residential, recreational, employment is what we do, right? And as we know, employment services for people with disabilities are still very underrepresented in the workforce. And again, it takes change, right? How do we implement that change? How do we change culture? How do we get more people employed and skilled? And it took another trailblazer, Jen Schull, the Director of Disability Affairs in city government, to come up with an idea that will forever change the training and hiring culture in government. And, you know, I think the important point here is training, right? You got to get people trained and ready for employment in areas and jobs that they're interested in. And so she reached out to AHRC and said, would you like to create this program together? And we all know that we are stronger together. And so partnerships is also a key to making changes. And we were absolutely on board, and we said, yes, we would love to create this internship program in city government. And the PI program, Partnership for Inclusive Internships, was born 6 years ago, continues to grow, and really make a meaningful impact and change in the hiring practices within government. And Hannah Millson, 6 years ago, came on as our director of the PI program, and she is going to share more about this amazing program and initiative in New York City.
Thank you, Michele. Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Millson. As Michele said, I'm the director of the Partnership for Inclusive Internships at AHRC New York City. And as Betty said, collaboration with service providers, with employers, is the key to successful internships. So I'm here to talk from the disability service provider side about an inclusive internship program in partnership with city government. So we are based in New York City, where our local government is one of the largest employers in the area. And when we say local government municipal jobs, we're talking about things like the Department of Transportation, the Department of Social Services, Department of Homeless Services, Department of Citywide Administrative Services, those kinds of internships and jobs. And actually, again, similar to what Betty said, it's like the tip of the iceberg when you think about what does it mean to work in government, and in reality, there's hundreds of different types of jobs and internships available, from data analysis, budget, data entry, policy, research, all sorts of things. So that's the kinds of internships and jobs that we're talking about today. Sort of the catalyst for this program, in addition to local government being one of our largest employers in New York City, is that we know that people with disabilities are often underemployed in the municipal sector, and there are creative ways to a career path that's consistent, and it's often seen as the road to the middle class for people to be employed with the city or with local government. So I also want to shout out to Hansel, who's the gentleman in this picture. He's sitting at his desk at his internship. He is an individual who had graduated college with an intellectual disability and really wanted to be a civil servant, like someone who you would be so happy to have working for your city government. He brings like passion and energy to a field that could be kind of boring, and he really brings it, but he really needed an internship to be able to network and build the skills to make sure that he was prepared to work, and he now works full-time with the Department of Social Services in New York City. I'll just sort of briefly talk about how this program started. We were, as Michele mentioned, grant-funded 6 years ago to begin the internships just within the Department of Social Services. So we placed about 30 interns the first year in one agency, the largest city agency, but one agency. And now today we partner with over 15 city agencies, and we're funded by the city. So I think the city recognized the importance of the investment in our program and the pipeline of talent that they're getting. People who have been tested out in an internship have done an amazing job and have now become hired by the city. So now the city funds this project. So the model essentially works, as Betty said, through collaboration and connection. So our program is really built on partnerships. We connect with many different service providers in New York City. AHRC specifically works with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but the PI program brings together all different service providers for people who have all different types of disabilities. So we provide the pool of applicants, and we connect them to many different government agencies that have internship opportunities and that want to host an intern. So we act as that sort of middleman to be able to place qualified candidates with the available internships with the government. We like to see our program as a win-win, or it should be a win-win-win for the supervisors who are hosting an intern. They're gaining really valuable time and energy from someone who is able to produce projects for them and work with them to enhance the services that they can provide. Obviously, for our interns, they are provided with very valuable work experience, a chance to build up their resume, a chance to build real tangible skills that they're able to transfer. And then for city government, we, as Michele mentioned, we're really trying to catalyze a culture shift here in how the city looks at hiring people with disabilities, really give city government an opportunity to work alongside someone with a disability, and sort of make that change person by person, and building this talent pipeline for both New York City, New York State, and federal hiring. New York City has obviously many city agencies, but numerous state and federal government agencies also located in our area. So I think it's important to highlight the key sort of success factors that we see in our internships. We've now placed over 250 interns across those agencies, and the things that we know really work, again, are paid internships, which you've heard. The payment piece is extremely important. We also want to make sure that our internships are real-world work experience, that they're really reflective of the actual work, and it's building the transferable skills that are going to be important for the intern if they want to continue a job with civil service. We also provide sort of concierge support to supervisors. So that could look everything from disability etiquette training for not only the supervisor but the team that will be hosting an intern. It can also look like phone calls at any time of day with the supervisor to help talk them through any situation that might come up at the internship, and making sure that they really feel comfortable being able to provide realistic feedback and those kinds of things that really make an internship successful. And then finally, we offer well-rounded support for our interns. So not just the hard skills of learning the tasks that you need to do at your internship, but in addition to that, executive functioning skills, social skills in the workplace, being able to network, being able to interview well. Those are the kinds of things that we're also working on with each and every intern to make sure that they're successful. We have found that internships are an extremely effective way to challenge stereotypes about people with disabilities, create a pipeline for talent. Almost 40% of our interns go on to work at the host site, which means that city government is seeing the value of the person that is interned with them and hiring them. And I love to just share that one of the best parts about the program is that we don't end up having to advocate for our intern. The supervisor who has hosted them for their 4-month internship is almost always the one to say, I need this person on my team. I have to hire this person. How can I make it happen? And that's all because they've had to work with this individual, they get to know them, they see the value that they bring, so it doesn't end up we're not advocating, it really becomes the supervisor, and that's very powerful, and almost 60% of the interns do go on to competitive employment, so it may not be within civil service, but they do go on to work, and they are taking those transferable skills from their internship out into the workplace. We feel like this inclusive internship model with local government is it's a proven solution. We know it's ready to be scalable, so we are working with New York State up in Albany, which is our state capital, to move this program and scale it up to state government. And we're always looking for new partners, so if you have some ideas about expanding globally, we're excited about. We know that municipal government is a huge employer in many parts of the world, so we think that this is a model that's easily replicable. And they really allow organizations to evaluate potential employees before having to hire them. And as I said, we think it's a great way to inspire organizations to go on and hire and advocate for their own interns. Here's our contact information, and I'll hand it over. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you, Michele. I think what you do is really interesting and a really good example of how you can be the, how to say it, I think the English word is middleman, like between the community and the state in that case, and give the opportunity to people, as you said, you see from the experience that they really are, the work they do is really appreciated, and they get the opportunity to continue afterwards, which is what we want to see, in every state, not only in New York. And also that's for all of you, of course. You mentioned the paid internship. You emphasized it. This is very important. Very often when we get an opportunity, in Europe as well, in many countries, and I guess everywhere, we get an opportunity we are considered to accept it for free and to be thankful for getting the opportunity to join a place and, a company or a build, or I don't know, an entity. And, very often I have been speaking in conferences that I was the only person that was not paid in that panel. So, disabled people very often are considered to do stuff for free and to be thankful for the opportunity. And if they want to proceed with their work in life, they should, sacrifice a bit of these things. But so I really appreciate when I think, about really working opportunities and paid internships. And so thank you for your work. Now we take a plane and we leave USA. We stay in the English-speaking world. We go to UK and to Samantha Everard, CEO and founder of the SAMEE with EE, organization, offering fully inclusive supported self-employment internships program. Again, it's very important what you do and how you act as a connecting point, in this transition from education to employment, because transitions are very important and very challenging in disability life. How we change, from one aspect of our life to a different, so we don't have this experience, we don't have the support very often. So this is what you do. Samantha, I welcome, thank you for joining us. I stop here and I give you the floor.
Thank you. So good afternoon. My name is Sam Everard. I am the Chief Exec and founder of the SAMEE charity. I sit before you today. I'm having a bad ME day, so wearing dark glasses, grey jacket, long brown hair, very nervous. You can't see how short I am, fortunately, because I am sat down. So, joining you today to talk about self-employment. It's quite a scary pathway for most of our young people, and it's not always something that is discussed as a career option in school, college, or further education. Self-employment is not something that is promoted because some of the careers advisors that work in the industry are very aware they don't know enough about it, and they're quite happy to admit that, so they don't often offer it. It is there, it's an opportunity for all. It does remove barriers to work. There is some traditionally employed roles that you can be self-employed in, especially within the construction industry, but it also allows for independence and personal growth. The tree that you see on my slide was designed by a young person who talked about their life. When they walked into a meeting with me and I asked what they wanted to be, and they said a tree, I was like, okay, breathe, it will be all right. They went on to explain that the roots were their life as it stands, the sturdiness, their network, their family, their security, their being at home. They wanted to grow, so the bark protects them as they learn. But they decided that education and employment were blocked branches. They had no way to explore what they wanted to do. But with self-employment, they could start to go down all different branches, go down twigs, find little leaves, come back, grow another branch, go down another route. And it actually encouraged them to grow. With 12 young people who are neurodivergent, the SAMEE team actually co-developed and co-created a level 1 qualification in the UK. It's a very different level 1 qualification because it doesn't actually include maths and English. We are very anti-maths and English, which I know will get me into lots of trouble in this room. But if you have a disabled young person or one with a moderate learning delay that wants to create their own self-employed role, maths and English doesn't need to be a barrier. It doesn't need to be a standing point. Our qualification is built and designed by those young people because they're not interested in market research. They don't worry about customer service. They're really not interested in cash flow, trust me. Unless they actually want to buy an Action Man figure, they do not want to know about money. So they talk to us about things like, what if somebody says no? What if I don't get a contract? What happens if I turn up late for an appointment? What do I wear? How does it affect my benefit? And all the holistic skills that we teach and design became part of that qualification. The first thing is around communication. When we're working with neurodivergent people, the confidence that they show is often a masking. So we needed to get behind that mask and to find out. We have documents within that qualification called This Is Me, where young people actually tell us things like, if I've got my grey jacket on, I can sit in front of a room full of people and talk. But if it was a brown jacket today, I can't. If I'm late for work, I panic. If I've got cheese in my sandwich, Mum really hates me and I don't want to be here today, I wanted ham. All those things that we laugh at are actually barriers to them doing work and are part of that qualification. So we get to know the young person. We then start to explore their self-employment idea once they're settled and they trust us. We then do the research, and then we help them to start trading. It's a very slow process. It's not a 12-week course. It's not a 6-hour program. It takes as long as we need it to take. Working through that qualification led to a couple of young people telling me that they wanted to do practical skills. They wanted to do learning by doing. We've got a photographer who was desperate to learn photography. He's got a qualification in it, in fact. He's really good. But what he didn't know is what photography he wanted to do. So by developing our program into an internship program where they can do work experience, what they've now done is developed ways of doing school photography. They've done a wedding, didn't like brides. They did an event. That was okay, didn't like the people. But when they were doing wildlife photography and PR photography, it was amazing. They discovered where their talent lay. From there, the internship developed into a work placement with a website designer. They now have a working website. They've done work experience with an accountant. They now understand why it's important. They've even done work experience in an insurance office, which I have to tell you, we thought they'd find boring, but they loved it. They now know more about insurance than me. They're quite useful. Each of our young person on those internships gets that opportunity to make sure they learn the skills and can actually practice what they need to learn. But did the SAMEE team get it right first time? No, not at all. We had plans, we had ideas, but with the co-development of that group, of those young interns, some of them are quite cheeky, I've got to be honest, we learned from them what worked best for them. We created best practice, and we changed the program every day. They come in with an idea, or we want to try this, or can we do that, or can you tell us why paper was made in that way, or can you tell us something else? And we develop our best practice around what they need to know. It's almost like a homeschooling theory. We teach them what they need at the time to develop their idea. We're still learning, trust me. So I was saying earlier about our This Is Me document. Our gardener there, our young Anton, he decided on his area of work. He does patio pots, he does a bit of lawn mowing, and he doesn't do a lot else. He's comfortable. He's got a cart that he drags around behind him with all his tools on it. And he considered what he could do. He did his own service list, and then when he talked to other gardeners within our group, he developed relationships with them. So he works with an arboriculturalist who is also a neurodivergent young person. He works with other gardeners, patio, that kind of thing, another neurodivergent young person. All those services he created, he decided where he wanted to work. That young man, who doesn't really speak very much because he's always worried about how people will read him, is now an ambassador for our program. He's going into schools and he's telling other young people they don't need maths and English to garden because he's really good at it, and he's got more Power Rangers now because he's earned lots of money. And he is the most awesome young man you could ever wish to meet. When we saw him in his uniform, it made us cry because if you could see how proud he was of doing that. I will tell you one thing, you won't get his services unless you live in BH23-2. Now, I don't know how your postal codes work around the world, but BH23-2 currently consists of 2 roads. If you do not live there, he will not garden for you. And he actually told a BBC radio presenter that no, he wasn't willing to do his garden unless he moved to his area. The opportunities that is offered from this programme are immense. I talked in Parliament on Tuesday about Will, who creates spoons. In fact, 280 was what his mum approached me with and said, Sam, any ideas? He now sells at craft fairs. He's teaching at men's sheds. He's creating fidget toys. He's selling in concessions. All of those opportunities have been built around the fact that we took his ideas seriously and we've allowed him to develop his self-employment in his own way. When he did our qualification with us, he doesn't do writing essays, he does pictures. And each piece of work that he submitted as evidence for the qualification was sticking, gluing, and visual. And it's amazing because we can interpret that. In fact, we even managed to interpret a Play-Doh business plan to make sure that that young person got a qualification. Their skills are intensive, they're incredible, but they don't always want to do the writing bits. Why can't we change our assessment system to actually make it more accessible? I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our impact. We had 8 new interns in September. When I did this report, it was beginning of January, so it's a little bit out of date now. But 75% of those guys are already test training. We have got 50% doing external vocational qualifications as well that we've managed to support them with. They're guest speaking at external opportunities. We've had 95 hours of volunteer support, people coming in to support this program because they can see how it's working. It's been an incredible journey so far. We've already got 20 young people signed up to start with us in September, from a ventriloquist right through to a dog groomer, through to other gardeners, creatives, and a lighting tech. The skills, again, incredible work. So our plans for the future. We want to create more opportunities. We're here to build networks and partnerships. And we're here to listen to the voice of the disabled community. If you have got any ideas how we can support our self-employment program more, if you'd like to help deliver it in your country, come and talk to me. We are not precious. We just want to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you for sharing one more really great initiatives. And I mean, I could talk a lot about it, but I will keep, because we have limited time, I will keep what I keep from this session, from your speeches, and what I really like is that you co-create with the people, you know, their support and their, you know, learning process. And also, it's individually tailored, which is very important. Because, you know, everyone is different, everyone has different needs, and everyone likes different things. And then, throughout this process, they also discover, you know, the path they want to take. So I think it's very meaningful, the process you implement. And thank you for sharing it with us. We still have around 10 minutes, something like that, around 10 minutes for Q&A and discussion. And we are almost 90 people in the room, which thank you all for being here. We are really grateful for that. Would you like to ask a question to our speaker? Or maybe share an experience? Oh, yeah, there is already one. Great.
Hello, I'm Ramona from Austria, and thank you for the very great insight of your projects. And I have a question, if it's possible to use your internships from abroad, or is it only for the people who live in the USA?
So is it replicable?
Yeah, we do have at least one of our internships that's open to international participation, and we are always open for a conversation on more of that. We're not limited by any specifications, it's just laziness.
And I'm actually going to agree exactly with what Betty has, said. It hasn't been discussed, but I think that's a conversation to have. And even like talking about best practices and how it works, in the U.S., I think can work, globally with other governments. So I think that's just a conversation and that we're open to when you see our contact. So please feel free to reach out.
I have to add one more thing to that, because I always make a joke. What we do in the United States is customized to what happens in our region, in our country. And so the question really is how is it going to work in your country? What can you steal? I should say borrow, with attribution, from us that then you apply to your specific situations. But I'd love the conversation.
Thank you. There's one more hand. Two chairs on the right of the previous question. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Rachel from the United States, from Washington, D.C., from the legislative branch. And so we have a program in the House of Representatives that does internships for the neurodivergent population. And so my question to you all is, is your internships full-time or part-time? Because the Harper internship program and the House and Representatives, they come in for like 4 hours once a week. So do your interns come in every day, and for how long?
That's a great question. So our internships, they're part-time. They tend to be a total of 320 hours. So we break it up over usually 4 months, but they typically go to work about 3 days a week. For the folks who, towards the end of an internship, seem like they're going to get hired, they might ramp it up because the difference between 3 days a week, 3 days a week and 5 days a week is very big. So if it seems like they're going to be hired and they're starting that process, they'll start going more days a week so that it's easier transition to full-time work. But typically it's about 320 hours split over the course of 4 months.
Would anyone of the other speakers would like to answer the same question? If you have, if it's flexible or?
We have a range of different types of internship programs. So we do everything from, we don't want to do any less than 10 hours a week for someone, because we don't think that any less than 10 hours is really going to be an experience that's going to really shape their choices and their careers. But we do customize the experience, and we do semester-long programs. We're moving into a 9-month program, and we are starting to support an organization in New York City that is doing a 3-year program, starting in high school and then transitioning them into post-high school work. So but 10 hours a week is minimum for us.
Thank you. And Samantha?
So our program is 20 hours a week and is based over 1 year or 2 years. But that 20 hours is done as it's self-employment. They can pick and choose when they do those hours. So it could be that they do 4 hours of work and then take the rest of the afternoon off. They might do a couple of hours in the evening on admin. So we're very flexible in the way that we work, depending on the idea and the needs of the young people. Also in the UK, things like bus passes don't work before 9:30, so again we have to be very mindful that if we are organising opportunities, it's actually accessible for our disabled candidates to get there.
Thank you. Yeah, let's continue. I see a gentleman in the middle. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience. I'm Emil from Rwanda in Africa. I'm just looking at the companies that are really willing to provide internship to the interns with disabilities, yes. But I'm looking at where the companies who are already willing to, but when it comes to the reasonable accommodation and also accessibility issues to that particular intern, and the companies will say that we don't have this budget, is there any possibility where the program could also provide a particular support to the companies? And if not, what could also be done by the government with other stakeholders to address that particular budget, not as a burden to the company, but how can also be supported in that way? Or maybe incentives to the companies, for example. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, who would like to start here?
The first thing I'd say is, like, with our program, we're not going to the government and saying, you're paying for this, well, you are paying for this internship, but within there, I'm not saying it correctly. So we actually offer the supports for the companies, right? So we're offering the coaching supports, we're offering the vetting of the candidates, who's interested, who has that skill, and helping them find the right candidates. So we're offering them, the possibility of several different candidates who might be good for that position. We're offering them the supports. So they're not investing a lot in money, per se, to have that intern. They're actually getting the help and the support while this internship is getting the opportunity to build skills and explore exactly what we said, what they're interested in and what they might not be interested in. So I think that's an important conversation to have with the companies, because I think companies really kind of take a step back sometimes, because not understanding that there are all of these supports that they're going to be getting, and it's not a monetary investment. It's not going to hurt their budgets. It's actually going to help them in terms of finding, qualified candidates and really change the hiring culture within their businesses. So I think that's an important message to be discussed.
Yeah, and I think you said in the presentation, it's a win-win situation. Thank you for that. I think we have time for one final quick question. Is there anyone with a burning question or burning statement, something? Don't be shy. No, I think. Okay, so that's fine. So in that case, I will give 20 seconds to each of the speakers to give a final message to all of you. And yeah, then we will close the session. So Betty, a final message to the audience, to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, just do it.
That's the message of Nike. I need a new one.
Oh,
No, I'm kidding.
do it better.
Thank you very much. Yes, Hannah and Michele.
I think you actually said it, which we said in our presentation. It really is a win-win for all. And just do it.
Thank you. Nike will come for copyright. And Samantha.
I think for me, it's talk about self-employment. Don't be scared of it. It's a massive opportunity. Just keep having that conversation.
Thank you very much. And my message will be, yeah, give this opportunity and you will not regret it. So thanks a lot all of you who joined us. Thank you to the speakers, each of you. Thank you to the interpreters, to the volunteers. And yeah, please enjoy the time. I guess it's lunchtime for many of you. Many other cool sessions are happening around. Thank you for joining and have a good day.